Morning, Clem, to and everyone. Hope you're having a good day. I know some of you in various places are facing some serious snowfall. Just talked to a friend in Merritt where they had snow, but I know people in Western New York, you are about to get a major dump of snow if you're watching this. Holy smokes, they're talking up to 4 feet of snow. That is a lot of snow. But anyway, I hope you all are doing well wherever you are and that you stay safe wherever you are. So, we are in a new series on the Ten Commandments. But I've called it God's awesome list of good behavior, or God's top 10 list of good behavior. So we talked the other day about how I love lists, and it's probably one of the reasons I like the Ten Commandments. Again, interestingly, a lot of people will claim to believe in the Ten Commandments or have a high regard for the Ten Commandments or whatever, but then they can't name the Ten Commandments. They can name some of them. Very few people these days have the ability to just like name all 10. And it actually would be a great exercise to take the time to try to memorize all 10 and work your way through them. I'm going to show them again today as we start. Here it is, God's top 10 list of good behavior, or God's awesome list of good behavior given to the children of Israel, Exodus chapter 20. Last time on Wednesday, we talked about how God did this. He gave this to them after he showed grace to them and took them out of the land of Egypt as slaves and freed them. And it's an illustration what God does in our lives, that our salvation comes first and obedience comes second. Now, great list. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal, and you shall not lie, and you shall not covet. What a wonderful list this is. Here's the thing. I'm going to look you in the eye and tell you this. Here's the thing. None of you can do that list. Not all the time. I can't do that list all the time. And we join, they just said the other day, 8 billion people on the planet now. We are part of a group of 8 billion people who cannot keep that list. So why would God give us a list that we cannot possibly do? Well, it is a good basis to build any good society on. Societies that are willing to follow that generally are going to function much better. And one of the things that saddens my heart as I'm getting older and having watched society transition, both in general society, but also in some of our native communities, is this movement away from respect of this list of good behavior that God gave us. And we have lost its place in our culture and in our society. So part of the reason God gave it to us is because it does teach us good ways to live. But there's another interesting reason why God gave us this list, and it's found in Galatians chapter 3. I'm going to screen share again with you, and we're going to look at that. This is part of a very nuanced argument that Paul is giving to a bunch of Jewish believers to help them understand where do they fit in with Jesus at this point. And I don't want to go through all the arguments of it. I do want to draw out this one principle that's in it, though, in Galatians chapter 3, verse 24. It said, therefore, the law has become our guardian to lead us to Christ, so that we might be justified by faith. We're justified. That word justified means to be made right with God. When we don't follow the things up here, there's a number of things that happen to us. Obviously, we become guilty of breaking the rules. We also bring shame on ourselves. We bring shame on God. We often bring shame on our family or our community. Shame becomes part of our experience as a result of not following this list perfectly. We begin to the more we don't do these things, the more powerless we become to not doing wrong things. And the list goes on and on about how this has deeply, deeply affected us. One of the things, though, this list should do is when we come to that place of understanding that we cannot do this list, no matter how good it is, even though some days we do it, but we cannot do it perfectly and all the time, is it's meant to drive us to Jesus, in the sense that we understand we've done wrong things, but now we need forgiveness for not following the list. However good the list is, when we don't follow it, we need God's forgiveness. Where do we find God's forgiveness? We find it in his son, Jesus. And so the law becomes our guardian or our guide. That might have been a good word to put there. It becomes our guide to lead us to Jesus, so that we may be justified or made right with God by faith in Jesus. This by faith here is connected to Jesus here. It's not connected to the law over here by having faith in the law. It's by having faith in Jesus that we are made right with God. And so on the cross, Jesus carries away the shame. It's on the cross that Jesus satisfies God's wrath, and our guilt is taken away. It's by Jesus on the cross that we find the strength and the power that we need to navigate life successfully according to the way God called us to live. And all of that happens in Jesus. But this list of rules right here helps us to understand our need for Jesus. So keep that in mind. This list will never make you right with God. It is the right way to live, but because we don't live it out perfectly, this list will never make you right with God, but it will point you to the one who can make you right with God. And so that's my encouragement for today. I'm actually done early for a change. I'm not fighting the 10-minute clock like I normally am, but I just wanted to make this small point, because I'm always concerned when we come to the teaching series on the 10 Commandments that people misunderstand. I'm always concerned people might misunderstand, what are we supposed to do with it? We're not supposed to try to follow it to make ourselves right with God. That's my point today. We follow it as a response to God's grace in our lives, because it's laid out a good path for us to walk on, the right path for us to walk on. Anyway, that's my word for today. I hope you have a good weekend. Hopefully it's not too snowy for most of you, and hope to see you all again on Monday.